It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, caught, touchdown, did he get it?
Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And of course, as always, over on the radio waves, 1069 FM at 1390 AM The Fan. Glad to be with you on a Tuesday, I think it is. I'm losing track of the days real quick.
It's actually
here.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Jason.
See, that's why this is exactly why I try
Too much cold medicine.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I've been dealing with the cold all the way. It's not a bad one. That's the weird thing. Is like I've not been running at less than about 75-80% all week, but it's been 75-80% all week, and it's like, what the heck? I used to never be more than sick for a day or two, but now it's like lingering. It's like, come on, I was like, what the heck are we doing here? Got to get this figured out.
Yes.
Trying to take cold medicine because I'm getting older and I can't just shrug off a cold like I used to. Just be all man through it. And now I'm like, yeah, got to deal with it.
Stuff lingers.
Still trying to come into work. I really hope I'm not getting everybody else sick, but I'm pretty sure
at this point it's almost like we've been sick and now it's just your turn.
But yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I either got this from you or from the Utah State basketball team because. The sickness ran through them, and who knows, they may have passed it on to me, or you came back from Europe sick, so you passed on whatever European sickness. And
yes,
we all know what
possible.
European sickness did to the Americas. So, yeah, something. Of course, I think last year Jared Calhoun got me sick too because he got sick at one point, and then I got sick soon after. So just this. It's
sharing is caring.
Yeah, basically. It's like how teachers are always like constantly sick because they're dealing with a bunch of kids parents don't want to keep their kids home from school. It's just it's just a sniffle go, and then teachers are, you got one immune system versus 30 kids with viruses. Who wins? So, but aside from talking about health and my own status on the injury report, we've got a show today with the Mountain West. We will also be talking with Adrian Denny. We're going to talk some Utah Mammoth with somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. When it comes with the Utah Mammoth, we do have our resident hockey expert, J.D. Walker, but can't always have him on the show. So we'll have Adrian Denny on. We'll talk about the Mountain West, kind of where we're at with the Mountain West Conference, like what the heck is going on at the top of the conference, like how do we try and make sense of that? I was trying to make sense of it with my own power rankings, and I just stared at the top four teams for like 5 minutes being like, well, what do I do with you guys? I don't know who to rank number one. I don't know who to rank 2 or 3 or 4. It's just like, there's 4 teams at the top, and we're going to figure out what the heck's going on. More on the G League players managing to get back into college basketball. Apparently, you spent like 2 or 3 years out of college, but you can always go back. Maybe I should go back to college. I don't know. Apparently, I got some eligibility left.
Yeah.
Got to go back, play some intramural soccer, I won a championship in intramural soccer. I got to go back. I still got that eligibility. We'll also talk about the NBA All-Stars. They released the starters for those. We'll also check in on the NFL playoffs and get back to Pick 6. So all of that on the docket for today. And if you want to chime in on any of these topics on our Young Power Sports of Logan text line, you can text 435-339-0321. We can also talk about Logan High School winning by like 40 points against Ben Lomond. So 3 wins in the last 4 games after like an 0-13 start. So they do have to play Morgan on Friday, which might be a little tricky.
Bring them back down.
But going to the Young Power Sports Logan text line, that does bring us into our first topic, 2444, saying, Well, I think we can safely say that Grand Canyon gets the best home whistle in the conference. Not sure how they manage that, but I suppose it makes the conference race a little more interesting.
Yeah, wild game last night. If you were able to stay up and watch it.
I did not, but
a back and forth seesaw affair. But there were stretches where Grand Canyon looked like they were in control. They built up a nice lead in the second half. San Diego State, though, they dig in. And they don't go away. They don't let the crowd phase them. They get back. They end up taking the lead late, like really late. And it looks like, hey, they fought their way back. They've made their adjustments. They're going to win this game. And then Bird goes to the line. And was it Bird or Davis? No,
it was Davis.
It was Davis. He goes to the free throw line. He's going to shoot two, one for one. And at that point, San Diego State is up one, a chance to go up by 3. He misses the front end. Grand Canyon gets a rebound, race down the court, drive to the hoop, kind of a questionable call. They get the whistle. They hit their 2 free throws. Now they're up by 1. There's only like a second.
Yeah, it was 1.8 seconds.
2 seconds on the clock. San Diego State tries to pass it down court with a heave at half court to try to win the game, and it doesn't go in. So Grand Canyon, in successive games, they take down the top teams in the Mountain West. They beat Utah State on Saturday, and then they took down San Diego State last night. So that Grand Canyon home court is for real. It's good. That student section, it's for real. It's good. And give Grand Canyon a lot of credit. We looked at this team as coming from the WAC. They stacked wins against the WAC, but we thought, you know what? Look at the trends. Teams that go from that level, then come into the Mountain West, they normally struggle a little bit initially before they start to be really good and competitive. Grand Canyon is trying to flip that script and saying, no, we're going to be competitive right now. And they're very much in the mix. One of, 5 teams with 2 losses? And San Diego State only has 1. So it's anybody's contest right now in the Mountain West.
Yeah, and I think where I may have been wrong with Grand Canyon, the way they're playing, because, I mean, their non-conference seemed to, kind of go with what I was thinking what Grand Canyon would be, where, like, they got some wins against some decent teams. Well, they lost to Youngstown State in the second game of the season. They also lost at St. Louis. They lost to Iowa, Oklahoma State. They stacked a few losses in non-conference. Still had a winning record in the non-league, but came into conference looking like they were going to be a middling team in the conference. And even early on in Mountain West play, like they lose to a beat-up Colorado State team at home. But lately, where they're getting some wins, at Boise State, so even away from their home arena, they get a win at Boise State. They did take a loss in the pit, nothing to really be ashamed of. Even getting blown out isn't always something to be ashamed of. But then, in what will maybe be one of the toughest stretches of games for any team, where they have to go to the pit, host a ranked Utah State team, and then host San Diego State. That might be the toughest 3-game stretch for any team in the league this year. They go 2-1.
Yeah,
and that's impressive in and of itself. And I think where I was kind of downplaying him as I put all the numbers together and looked at the historical trends of teams coming from the WAC struggling in year one. Eventually they get going, but in year one they really struggle. And Grand Canyon may have more wins in their first season in the Mountain West than almost every other team in their first year. Like Utah State in their first year, they didn't do super hot. They were one of the best. But the thing that really probably helps Grand Canyon is that they, unlike other teams coming from the WAC to the Mountain West, Grand Canyon has a recruiting advantage in that they have one of the most expensive rosters in the conference.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really helped them to make a jump in the conferences. They're already one of the highest paying rosters.
Yeah, so, NIL, transfer portal era, that totally changes the game in these conference moves because you can remake your roster. I mean, they have, one guy back on their roster from last year. So they've completely remade their roster. They've got a big budget to do that. So moving from conferences and that moving up and the challenges faced with that really it's a different story now, and it's the bell curve there is different because of those reasons.
Yeah, you can make that transition a lot easier. It's still not going to be super easy for them. I mean, they absolutely got whacked in the pit. Like that's, going to some of these arenas that are actually as good and in most cases better than theirs, like, the Pit and Viejas and the Spectrum, all I would say exceed what Grand Canyon's able to do at their home venue. Grand Canyon's never had to go to a venue like that and go out and get a win. And when they have had to go to those venues, they tend to lose. So they're still going to face some of these challenges, but still, with that great roster and with what is still, I sound like I'm downplaying their venue, but with what is still a fantastic venue, they're obviously able to go out there and get some impressive wins. And so Grand Canyon looking like they're one of the top teams in the conference. And kind of with the rest of the top of the Mountain West, as I was saying, like when I was trying to make my power rankings, in fact, I even kind of punted on it. When I put it out on social media, I said, here's my contenders club, as I've kind of labeled it. There's 4 teams, and it's like, put them in whatever order you want. And I'm not really going to try and do it because it's Grand Canyon, Utah State, San Diego State, and New Mexico. And even in a follow-up post, I was like, there's good reasons to put each one of those teams. New Mexico probably has the weakest case, but I think they still have a case.
Yeah.
But there's also reasons that you would go against that team being at the top. And, San Diego State probably has the best case because they're in first place in the standings. They're 7-1. They've got 1 loss, and it was by 1 point on the road on a controversial call.
Right.
So you're probably still leaning San Diego State number 1, but they did still lose at Grand Canyon. Well, you look at Grand Canyon. They beat Utah State and San Diego State. Well, they lost at home to Colorado State. They lost to New Mexico on the road. The non-conference schedule makes you wonder, like, is this just kind of a flash in the pan where they're having a good early conference? Do they fade down the stretch? There's still some questions about, like, are we going to crown Grand Canyon based off of 2 games? 2 really good games, but do you crown a team based off 2 games? Yeah, I tend to lean away from doing that.
Yeah.
But you also can't discount those entirely.
Small sample size, but
it's a pretty dang good sample size.
Who did they beat? Yeah. How did they look in those wins too? So you got 6 teams that are separated by a game and a half.
Yeah.
And as you said, there's 4 that I think, and I would agree, there's 4 that are really in contention. Really 3, but I think you have to include Grand Canyon for the reasons we just discussed. And then the other 2 that are, okay, they're 5-2 or 6-2 in one case. They're good teams, but are they really in conference contention? And that's Nevada and UNLV. And yes, UNLV just beat the Aggies. Yes, UNLV has won 3 in a row. But who are they really? Are they just playing well right now, or are they legitimate top of the conference type of a team? Same thing with Nevada. Are the Wolfpack really that good, or they've won some games against some lower parts of the conference so far? So, there's 6 teams at the top bunched together. There are 3 that really stand apart. I think you have to include the 4th in Grand Canyon based on what they've done in the last week. And then you've got those other 2 that are playing well, but I don't know that I could still put them in conference contenders. I don't know if pretender is the right word, but they're playing well, but are they really the best in the Mountain West?
Yeah, with UNLV, it just comes down to volatility. I keep harping on them for how many quad 4 losses they have. That's an incredibly volatile team. At their best, they're going to, they can get a win in the Spectrum. But they also just have those lows, like they got waxed by Wyoming earlier. So it's like, how good can UNLV truly be if they can't be consistent? Which has been their Achilles heel for years. They have one of the most talented rosters. They are constantly able to bring in some of the most talented players. This year, the last couple of years, I mean, Dayton Thomas, wasn't he like a 4 or 5-star recruit or something like that? Where like you had a top level recruit, but they still couldn't put it together for a full season. Could put it together for a game, but never for a full season. Nevada, it just comes down to the fact that their 2 biggest games of conference play so far, they've lost them. So they're a step behind because given the chance to assert themselves as a top team, they have come up short in both occasions, both in a home game and in a road game. So you can't just blame it on difficult schedule. So that's where Nevada and UNLV end up in the second tier, where it's like clearly these guys can hang with the contenders, but it's a 20-game conference schedule, and both teams are proving that they may not be up for an entire 20-game conference schedule to be at the top. And yeah, the 4 contenders, as I said, Utah State, San Diego State, New Mexico, and Grand Canyon. And like you look at Utah State, you can still make the case that Utah State is the top team in the conference. By basically every metric, they're the top team in the league. But their current form and maybe an indication of future form seems to indicate that they're no longer the top team, that they're not playing like the team that they were in November, December. Or maybe the problem is they're still the team they were in November and December. Everyone else has gotten better and the Aggies are kind of stuck. So you have a case for a lot of these teams, like even New Mexico. Like I said, I think New Mexico has the weakest case to be the top team, but they do have a win over Grand Canyon, which looks a lot better of late. And they're only, well, they have a loss at Boise State, which actually looks worse in retrospect, just as much as the win over Grand Canyon looks a little bit better as we look back. And then they have the recent loss to San Diego State, which pushed them back a little bit, even though that was also on the road. So that was a tough game for them. So a lot of different teams have at least a argument to be the best team in the conference. And I could see any one of those 4 teams pulling ahead. But I think really what it's going to be is you're going to have 4 teams trading spots in that top 4 or 5 for most of the season. I think eventually those 4 will pull away from Nevada and UNLV. And you're going to see up until the last week, I think it'll be the last 2 sets of games, essentially that last week before the Mountain West tournament. You know, when Utah State hosts New Mexico, that could be a game that might have Mountain West championship implications, much as it did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Or could end up being the difference between like a 2 seed and a 5 seed is another swing that game could potentially have.
Yeah, we're still very early in conference play. We're mid-January. We still have almost 2 months. It's really more than a month and a half of conference play to happen. But we're seeing some interesting trends start to surface here, and that there is in November and December, it seemed like every school but Utah State had an embarrassing loss. Every school but Utah State had some games where it's like, oh gosh, I mean, this Mountain West Conference doesn't really look like it's that great. And even though Utah State didn't lose in November and December, really, I mean, they did lose at South Florida, but that's not a bad loss.
Yeah, it's a quad 1 loss.
Yeah, but when you look at the schedule and did those teams at the Mountain West top level, did they get premier wins? Not really. They had embarrassing losses though. And so the whole discussion was, gosh, is this going to be a 1-bid league? I mean, then it's like, no, they'll get 2. Could they get 3? I don't know. Probably not. But when you look at the top level of this conference, if the top level continues to shift and teams win and then they lose, it's just a continuation of we're just not sure what this Mountain West really looks like. And looking at bracket matrix today, there's still 3 teams in the Mountain West that are in. Utah State has moved down to an 8. I mean, we were talking about maybe moving up to a 5, and then they lost 2 in a row. And then San Diego State and New Mexico are on the 11 line as like first 4 type territory. So could 3 teams still get in? Maybe. But the top teams still have to be able to win a lot of games. And even if they just trade losses among each other, but you can't afford any more bad losses. Utah State's loss against UNLV might be considered a bad loss unless UNLV starts to really continue to play well and stack wins on their own.
Yeah, I don't think UNLV is really going to be able to stack enough wins for it to be considered not I don't know if it'll be a bad or like crushing loss, but it's a quad 3 loss.
Right.
If you're an at-large team in the mid-majors, you want 1 or fewer. Like 1 is basically the maximum number of quad 3, quad 4 losses, unless you've really had a great non-conference where you got a bunch of quad 1. Because
at minimum, you should, as a good team, if you're an NCAA tournament team, you should, at large team, you should take care of your quad 3 and quad 4 games.
Yeah.
If you're a good team, you don't lose in those games.
Yeah, because those are the bad losses where if you're a mid-major, you're only going to get like probably 5 maximum quad 1 games. You'll be lucky to get more than 5 quad 1 games in a single season. And that's like Mountain West best season where like 3 or 4 of those are in Mountain West play. It's hard to get multiple quad 1 games in non-conference play. You can pull it off, like VCU has like 8 of them, I think, but they're like over. So you might have the odd year where you can get more than that 5 that I called the maximum, but it's really rare and a lot of times not up to you. You just kind of have to get lucky there. So you need to take care of your quad 3 and quad 4. So like you look at Utah State season, they're going to have 2 or 3 quad 1 games all year.
Right now, they're 1-1 in quad 1.
Yeah.
The loss at South Florida, the win at Boise.
Yep.
The remaining games that are in quad 1 territory, at Nevada, at San Diego State, at New Mexico.
Yeah. So I still end up with about 5, a lot of those being in Mountain West play. But like, is the Boise game going to stay in there? Is the Nevada game going to stay in quad 1 territory? Things like that.
They're right on the edge.
Is South Florida going to stay in quad 1 territory? Like, it's... For Utah State, taking 1 quad 3 loss is not a killer. But as I said, you just about reached your maximum there. You do not want to be taking multiple. If it's going to be multiple, it's better be multiple quad 3, as long as you're not taking, multiple of those and one being quad 4. But like, you do not want to be stacking those, especially where you may not get very many more quad 1 wins. Like,
they got to build their resume.
Yeah, like at Nevada. That's a winnable game, the way where Nevada may not be as good, but like that's still going to be a really tough game, still very losable. Can you win at San Diego State? Can you win at New Mexico? As I've said, I'm not sure anybody's going to beat New Mexico at the Pit this year, the way they've been able to play there, but it's tricky. We've actually got to take a break. We're going a little over on this first segment. We still have more on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, so we'll get to some of those texts coming up next here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
This is Garrett with Cache Valley Bank. Life has a way of moving quickly. Kids growing up, students starting fresh, and business owners taking bold new steps. At Cache Valley Bank, we're here for all of it. Whether you're opening your first account, growing your business, saving for the future, or planning what comes next, we're proud to be your trusted financial partner right here at home. Cache Valley Bank. Real relationships, real solutions for every stage of life. Member FDIC.
Snow and black ice are here to stay for a while. If your tires aren't ready, neither is your vehicle. At Express Auto and Tire, they work with all vehicles and all tire sizes, making winter traction and safety their top priority. Name brand tires are always less at Express Tire. As a Point S Tire location, you're backed by a nationwide warranty. Get winter ready with no appointment needed. 3200 North Main.
Express Tire, tires for less.
Where tires and service come together.
Now here's a concept. You earmark a third of your profits to go back into the community to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Nate Lamson, and I'd like to share with you what I know about the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service on your copier, printer, or office solution while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Visit deximaging.com. We think globally, but act locally.
Winter's here, and that old car sitting in the driveway isn't getting any warmer. Turn that frozen junker into cold hard cash with DD Auto and Salvage in Logan. It's never too cold, too wet, or too late to clean up and cash out. DD Auto and Salvage makes it quick and easy. They'll even pick it up for you. Get the most money possible for junk vehicles or scrap metal. Clear it out. Get the cash today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. And let DD Auto and Salvage pay you today. DD Auto and Salvage. Cold cars turned into hot cash.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome on back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen. Talking Mountain West men's basketball. A lot about who are the contenders, pretenders, more by the contenders, because we've pretty much figured out by now, like, who are the contenders, who are the kind of, we're kind of maybe wait and see just because we're, UNLV and Nevada, like, are they able to actually step up? But we know they're kind of capable of it. It's just showing it on a consistent basis. So we'll see. And we're going to go back to our Young Power Sports Logan text line. I had a few more texts roll in. 1623, we were talking about the Grand Canyon San Diego State game that ended on a controversial call. They're saying, I was half tempted to go into the San Diego State men's basketball Instagram page and say, game robbed at GCU because of the refs, huh? First time? Then saying, I didn't think it was a foul on the second to last play of the game.
I think it was a foul. I think people were looking at one particular area. The foul actually happened before he actually got up in the air. I think it was from the other player, the first player who kind of reached and made contact. And then there was a secondary player who defended the drive. So I don't know that it was necessarily a bad call, but still, I'm a little surprised that you blow the whistle at that point. Let the players play.
Yeah, there's also talk about who blew the whistle. Looks like it was a player. There was a referee that was across the court, was kind of shielded, like he was out of position. And then as he was getting toward his position, there was multiple players in the way of him being able to see it.
Yeah. I would have loved to just let it play out. Just let the players decide. So
that's usually what I like. But then people whine about, a foul should have been called, or all that kind of stuff.
But we know things get a little funny there in Phoenix.
Yeah,
if you're at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, definitely. 8968 with a couple of texts. One referencing me talking about being sick earlier, but 8968 saying it's bad, but lately the basketball has made me a bit sick. And then chiming in while we were talking about Grand Canyon and their eventual schedule, saying Grand Canyon still have to come here. I hope it means something. I think the Aggies have the best home court. When you have money to buy a team, you should win. And yeah, Grand Canyon has the money. Like, they do.
Yes, they do.
They've shelled out a lot of money, and the Aggies are their money situation is getting better, but it's still not great. Coach Calhoun is at times working miracles with the amount of money he has to work with. Westbrook's too, to be honest. What Utah State is able to do and the kind of caliber of players they've been able to get, like recruiting wise, for both men's and women's basketball, like based on the money they have, is actually kind of astounding.
That's the Utah State way, punching above their weight.
They the money's got to eventually come though if they're gonna keep punching above their weight. 9315 with a couple of texts here. Let's see, I think three different teams. One saying, I have a few years of college eligibility on the USC rodeo team, and I only wrestled at snow for 1 year. So can re-enroll even though I've competed at a higher level of the pro rodeo scene for 10 years. Everyone else doing so. Why shouldn't I? Yeah, get back in there. You got more eligibility.
Yeah, go for it.
Then saying I don't know if this is intentional, but it says if Grandma Canyon University had a football team, their basketball would not be near as good because they had less money to give to basketball. Maybe. And there definitely is an argument for that, partly because of like what a lot of coaches talk about, what the Big East and the A-10 are able to do. Like, football can be a bit of a drag on resources, but it also bolsters, revenues. Like, because football actually makes money. A lot of that does tend to go back into football, but
for years in basketball, Kansas and Kentucky, they had great basketball traditions. They would fill their basketball arenas. They'd compete and win national championships. But they did not drive the financial resources of their athletic departments. Even though their football programs were bad, not average, bad, they still made more money from their football programs than their historically great basketball programs.
Yeah.
Because that's the nature of football. You've got more seats. You've got more opportunities, at least to make money off of your venue. So yeah, football is the economic driver for a lot of athletic departments. But we come into situations like Grand Canyon and upcoming Gonzaga and the upcoming Pac-12. These are programs that they don't have to split their money in ways like these other full members do, but they also don't have ways to generate as much money through other means.
Yeah.
So yes, they don't have to share it. So TV money goes more to just basketball, but they are also limited in how they can generate money too.
Yeah, like Utah State at this point can't really pull off cutting football. That there'd be a lot of downside to that wouldn't be worth having a better basketball team per se.
Yeah.
But some, with how they've, you look at the entire Big East, they've managed it because that's just the situation they've been able to get themselves into. They're in a good conference. They're in a good position. But for Utah State, I mean, their membership in the Pac-12 is pretty much contingent on having a football team, among others. Going back to the text line, 93159, I list off just another number, 9315, saying, how hard would it be for UNLV to hit Q2 or Quad 2? For the home game, it's not happening. They have to be top 75. They're in the net. They're 129 now.
Yeah,
they're not jumping
a lot.
They're not jumping 54 spots in the net. The road game will be Quad 2 or close to it.
It's currently Quad 2.
Yeah, so the road game will be Quad 2 and is
as long as they stay in the top 135.
Yeah, and we'll see. They took a big jump after beating Utah State. But we can keep an eye on that. Going to other texts on the text line, 6543, saying, are there any public databases where you can find how much universities are paying these athletes in NIL money in the various sports? None that are tremendously accurate.
That would be really interesting to know. Last spring, I remember listening here on the Fan. Doug Gottlieb was talking about how he put his NCAA bracket together. And he said, I looked at the budgets of the teams that were involved and went with whichever team had the bigger budget to win that matchup and then move on. And I thought that would be fascinating to look at. But he must have access to information that us general Joe Blows don't have, because I think that would be fascinating to look at.
Yeah, because
what's our roster look like versus your roster on this payroll?
It seems pretty clear that the coaches do have not just like a sense, but almost actual data. Because I've heard Jared Calhoun talk about where teams rank within the conference of NIL. And then Doug Gottlieb making that comment where like he was basing his predictions based off of NIL money, which is a pretty sound strategy. I wish I could do the same because I'd probably go with the same thing. That might be one of the smartest things Doug Gottlieb's ever done, along with finally deciding where to
focusing on
one area. And he actually seems to have done a better job this year coaching Green Bay. But Jared Calhoun also last year mentioning where Utah State ranked in terms of money based on everyone else in the NCAA tournament, where I think he said they were one of or maybe the lowest budget teams among any at large in the NCAA tournament. So the coaches seem to have access to something where like they know like almost on a systematic level how much money each team is paying. I don't know if the coaches just all put that in or if there are services that they subscribe to or they're paying for that give them access to that kind of money or that kind of data. But so far as I am aware, there is not a publicly available database that is accurate. There are places that make estimations. There's like a NILNCAA.com or something like that.
That clearinghouse for NIL deals. I don't know if that has some
that might have the
information.
It's like NIL-NCAA.com, but theirs is an estimation. In fact, I think they actually overestimate Utah State's revenue sharing because as far as I'm aware, Utah State has not yet given any money to revenue share, although I believe they will be sending out revenue share checks for this upcoming season.
Yeah, they signed up to do it.
So that's something that will be going for. That's why I say Utah State's money situation is going to get better, but it needs to continue to get better. You got to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, because it's an arms race in college basketball. But yeah, public numbers are tricky to find. There's just numbers that I hear, some of which I believe and some of which I don't. Just depends on who I'm hearing it from.
Yeah. 5338 texting in, has GCU or the Mountain West Conference addressed the phone harassment issues with the Aggie players and coach from last weekend's game? I don't know.
As far as I'm aware, no, I have not double-checked.
I don't know. Did Utah State officially file a complaint? That's what I don't know.
I don't think they...
Like, we heard about it, and like we all know that's like stupid, and that's not appropriate. But I don't know if Utah State actually filed a formal complaint with the Mountain West.
Yeah, I don't know if they have.
Not, they should.
They probably should. I think just to put it on record, just like, is it a big deal? No. but it's something that needs to be addressed. Like, it's something that at the very least, and if it's behind closed doors, I get it. You'd like to at least see some public statement from the Mountain West saying, hey, don't be like that. Because the problem is that you end up with a situation where students do something they shouldn't. Again, is it the biggest deal in the world? No. Did they throw things at players? No. Did they say racist things? At least I haven't heard of anything they might have said over the phone. But like, are they doing things that are like way over the line? Not really. But what they did was technically a crime.
Yeah.
It's a misdemeanor, So it's not, again, it's not a huge deal. It's like having illegal fireworks or something like that. It's stuff that a bunch of kids always do. But like, if you don't draw that line,
it'll happen again.
Yeah, it's going to happen again. They're going to do it again. And other student sections might do the same. Like, I know the herd wants to be the bigger people, but like 4 or 5 years down the road, if some kids in the herd, because, young college students are going to do dumb things because they're college kids. What if someone in the herd or someone in, I forget the Aztec student section name, but what if their student section does something? Yeah, the show. What if they do something like that? Where the student sections, they're, all trying to be edgy and get whatever advantage they can and try to bother the players as much as they want because they stake their pride on bothering opponents. They're going to see this is something that they can do. And if the Mountain West doesn't do anything about it, it's going to happen again, whether it's GCU, whether it's Utah State having some students do something dumb, or whether it's the show, or whether it's the pit. It's something that can happen again, or it can happen elsewhere in college basketball. It doesn't have to be exclusive to the Mountain West or the Pac-12. Like, you need to address this so it's on the record saying, hey, you can't do this, and people get in trouble for doing this. Because, say 2-3 years down the road, someone in the herd, some sophomore or freshman comes and say, hey, I got the phone number for this guy's star player. We should post it out there and send a bunch of, texts and mess with them.
So he doesn't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, but if you address this where that freshman or sophomore may not know what's going on, people can be like, hey, I know that sounds good, but that's not okay.
Yeah, we don't do that.
And you have a learning moment. You avoid that where some overzealous student doesn't overstep what they should be doing and again commit what is actually a crime.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the situation you can avoid by at least addressing it. Do you have to punish them, expel them, send them to jail, fine them? No, you don't really have to do any of that. But address it. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but for something to happen like this, someone has to file a complaint.
Yeah, and if I guess if Utah State didn't think it was that big of a deal, that's on that's their prerogative. They don't have to pursue it. And maybe if Grand Canyon did address it behind closed doors, but like I said, it'd be nice to see something addressed publicly, so that nobody else makes the same mistake that those Grand Canyon students did. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got more on the docket. College basketball being invaded by the G League. See if they can manage to hold things off. Can the NCAA hold off this invasion from the G League? We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Les Olson IT structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
Master Auto Tech delivers honest, reliable auto repair and maintenance from certified technicians who put customers first. From routine service to major repairs, they're committed to quality work and clear communication. With 22 Utah locations, including Logan, Brigham City, and Ogden, there's always a Master Auto Tech nearby. Master Auto Tech, expert care, local service, and confidence you can trust.
Your trusted, helpful expert, Master Auto Tech.
Hey, it's JD here, and with the new year comes that familiar feeling of wanting a fresh start. We all make resolutions: eat better, be healthier, do better, but for some, the resolution that matters most is getting sober. That's why I want to tell you about Renaissance Ranch. They specialize in a faith-based, clinically proven addiction recovery. They know what it takes to break free for good. Call or visit RenaissanceRanch.net and make this the year that addiction no longer controls your story. Renaissance Ranch, hope, healing, and recovery.
Retirement. Are you ready? Adams Wealth Advisors specializes in preparing you for a secure retirement. There's no reason to feel frustrated. The team at Adams Wealth will create a personalized plan that includes timing of retirement, reliable income sources, Social Security, estate planning, and more. Adams Wealth Advisors has a team of CPA, certified financial planners, Social Security experts to help you plan and retire with confidence. Call today, 752-1702, or visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com. Your dream retirement starts here.
The chips and drinks are endless. The burrito is huge for only $7.95. It's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant and gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and a massive burrito. You pay just $7.95. The food, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th West and Center in Logan.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome on back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen. As we continue this Thursday show, I couldn't remember what day it was earlier in the show. That's just where I'm at this point. Feel free to text the show on the Full Court Press, the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. 435-339-0321. Had a lot of good interaction so far on today's show. But talking about something that has certainly generated a lot of uproar from the college basketball community, and that is just this continued invasion of G League players into college basketball. You've had, BYU picked up one, and I forget, Baylor picked up one. I think was Baylor's the one who had actually played, professional games or something like that. Because there's ones that Baylor's was the one who got drafted, I think.
Yeah, they somebody was drafted. Somebody was at Alabama. They introduced their player to their roster, and he's standing there in a San Antonio Spurs jersey.
Yeah,
it's like this just doesn't. How does this work? What bizarro world have we morphed into anymore?
Yeah, well, in Alabama, they recently had a player, he was a former Alabama basketball player. Who I'm trying to remember his name. It was Charles Badeka. I couldn't remember how to pronounce his name, but he had been in the G League and the Summer League, and pro career wasn't working out. He left Alabama early to pursue his pro career, and it didn't pan out. It's not panned out for him at all. He's not. He didn't get what he wanted by leaving early. So he's trying to go back to Alabama. And the NCAA tried to draw a line because apparently the line that they drew was whether or not you signed like an actual professional contract, or maybe there's a specific kind, because there's players who've been in the G League who come back, but maybe Badeko, maybe he signed like an actual NBA contract as opposed to a G League or Summer League contract, which the NCAA seemed to be like, maybe we don't like it, but they were allowing that to happen. Like, even if you were drafted, if you didn't sign like an actual NBA roster contract, I think that's what I'm guessing. I've not waded through the weeds in this, but
because you'll see guys who play for college teams. Somebody who Utah State just played recently, or it was a game that I was watching. Anyway, he played professionally in Turkey as a younger player. And then came and signed a deal to play collegiately. And we see that quite a bit, where it's a very different development system internationally. They don't have the high school system like we do. So they play on these professional teams at younger ages.
Yeah, because they'll be like a 15 or 16-year-old playing on a professional team, but it'll also be like third or fourth level, teams in whatever country they're in.
So there is precedent to that degree, and some guys going to the G League who've been granted availability to come back. But with this Charles Biadaco, like, he was in the G League, he never played in an NBA game. But it's like, where do we draw the line? Like, NIL money has reached a certain level that guys are staying in college longer, which I think is great. It's providing more development for them. Basketball is being played at a higher level. But we're starting to see, like, guys who thought they were going to chase opportunity in the NBA, realizing it's not happening for them, turning around and saying, well, maybe I want to go back because my opportunity is greater at the college level right now than if I tried to pursue a professional career.
Yeah, and it just doesn't feel right where it's like, if you leave college, there's an aspect where it's like, hey, if you are exploring the NBA, you have that ability to go through the NBA draft process and, talk to coaches, even maybe talking to agents, and get some feedback. And then you can make the decision, okay, do I want to go or stay or go? Neemias Queta, Sam Merrill, I think both did. I think Justin Bean even explored the NBA draft before coming back.
Yes.
You saw, I think, both Miles Bird and Magoon Gwath do that this offseason. And they come back. It's not always exclusively going to the NBA and staying there.
Yeah, it used to be once you sign with an agent, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, you're committed. There's no coming back. Whether you get drafted or not, well, tough cookie.
Yeah. But now it's this, even if you do get drafted, you can come back. And, Charles, so I had to double check. Bediako is the pronunciation I'm getting from online. So, where he was initially blocked by the NCAA, but then you had a judge give him a temporary restraining order, which, rumor on the internet, is the judge who gave him a temporary restraining order that allows him to be eligible immediately. Rumor is that judge is an Alabama donor. I don't know if that's true. I have to throw that in there. That I do not know for a fact that is true, but that was a rumor I saw, and I thought it was funny enough to put out there.
Yeah.
So when I spread information, I haven't double checked.
Well, you'd mentioned Baylor earlier, and that's what they're referring to is James Nagy, who was picked in the NBA draft back in 2023. He did play professionally over in Europe. But he was drafted in the NBA, but never really played in the NBA.
And never played a single NBA game. Because if you do that, then you're cooked. You have no chance.
But then he's never made it into the professional league domestically. So he wants to come back and give it another try at Baylor. And that's what Biadaco's trying to say is, like, you're allowing players who have international professional experience opportunities to still play. But domestically, if they try to play professionally here in the United States, it counts against them. And so their case is trying to say it should be equal for everybody. But I don't know. We're blurring the lines. We don't even know what eligibility means anymore.
Yeah,
how many years you have to play.
Yeah. 8968 on this topic saying, I've never liked the idea of college sports being pro sports. It's here, and I guess we have to live with it or quit supporting it. I myself believe amateur sports should be amateur sports. From what I understand, BYU pays more basketball than the Aggies are able to pay for a football team. I think BYU is playing one player more money than Utah State is for its entire football team.
Yes.
And this really leads me to think that the NCAA needs to come up with a rock solid rule on eligibility that prevents this loophole. It should be if you leave to go play pro sports, then if you leave the college ranks to go play pro sports, whether you're playing at a minor league or a professional league, if you go away from college for 2 or 3 years, you don't get to come back. And that's honestly where I know the 5 for 5 rule, aside from, going to Wendy's or whatnot, like it should be something the NCAA should really consider. No more of this waivers or, I left and went and played in the G League for 2 years, but I still got eligibility, so I come back. It needs to be you have 5 years to play, however many seasons of college basketball you can get. And If you get injured for 3 or 4 of those, I'm sorry, it sucks, but this train got ruined by a bunch of people before you who decided they were going to exploit the system and play 10 years of college football. Like, it just needs to be, and whether you say 4 years to play, or maybe it's just you have 5 years to play 4, and that's just a hard, fast 5 years, and, you can sit out one of them if you feel like, but that's that. No medical red shirts, none of this, just 5 years, and if you leave at any point, then you better come back before those 5 years are up, because you don't get that.
Right.
Like, we're not pausing the clock.
Clock's ticking.
So I really think the NCAA needs to move to something like that. But the problem is I don't think there's any urgency. From the NCAA, there's outcry from fans, even coaches. But those same coaches that are saying, oh, this is so stupid. Well, how about you hand them a 7'1" G League center? They'll shut up real quick about how stupid the system is and be like, thank you very much.
Right. Yeah. So for Jared Calhoun, man, when you're talking about remaking your roster, look at all those two-way players who never actually got a chance on an NBA court.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look at all those G League guys.
Call up Joe Mazzulla and see if you can get Namish Ked on this roster. I hear him and Joe Mazzulla are pretty close.
Don't worry about who played at Youngstown State or some other smaller level school. Let's look at guys who may still have some eligibility that are getting additional development with grown men.
Yeah,
and bring them back onto your roster.
It's kind of. I bet in the off season we're going to see a bunch of G leaguers flirting with college teams now that precedent has been set.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of scary to think of,
because the money and the exposure is greater in college basketball than it is in the G League.
Yeah, it definitely is. We got to take another break. When we come back, we'll finish up the first hour here on the Full Court Press.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 5th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Now here's a concept. You earmark a third of your profits to go back into the community to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Nate Lamson, and I'd like to share with you what I know about the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service on your copier, printer, or office solution while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Visit deximaging.com. We think globally, but act locally.
There's no reason to wheeze and sneeze while around dogs and cats. The Allergy Clinic, located in the Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan and Providence on Gateway Drive, has an aggressive treatment for dog and cat allergies. Get the help you need. Stop avoiding friends and relatives' homes just because of their pets. Independent physicians Blotter, Robinette, and Deere offer Cache Valley a full-time clinic to test and address your allergy concerns. Most insurance is accepted. Call 753-7880. That's 753-7880 for allergy testing today.
From small homes to large businesses, Mountain Valley Heating and Air has you covered. Their team specializes in both residential and commercial services. When you choose Mountain Valley, you're choosing a full team ready to handle every detail, every time, so you and your business can always feel the love. Tune-ups, installations, or emergency service, whatever you need, we're here. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Reminder, at Napa Auto Parts, they've got batteries, headlights, wiper blades. It's all in stock and on sale now. They got chemical guys, car wash, and detailing kits for only $49.99. You can pick up the last bags of Blue Heat Ice Melt at $10. Get air fresheners, snow scrapers, shop towels, seafoam, and more. It's on sale at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores from Preston all the way down to Providence. Couple of texts on the Young Power Sports Logan text line, 9952, saying, I have a year of eligibility left. I should be a player coach for the USU hockey team.
There you go.
What are the eligibility rules for club teams?
Club teams? Yeah, that's a good question.
That could be like even more of a mess. Just get like
a little bit more blurred.
Get like, NHL players just going back to, these ACHA teams, just putting up like 100 goals a season. That'd be pretty crazy.
Then 8968. I remember the Aggies had a wide receiver that played like 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. You could have still played, but definitely decided enough was enough.
Yeah, that's some of these players. Like, there's people saying, just go get a real job, guys. Just like, Carson Beck, the Miami quarterback.
Yeah, Beck.
I was suddenly unsure of myself there. People talking about, his next job, like used car salesman, insurance salesman, although more likely he's going to get drafted in the NFL, but like he's 24, 25 or something like that. He's been playing forever.
Yeah, but look, I get it. Like for a lot of these guys, like keep playing because you're going to get money, you're going to get opportunity, and they're going to keep pushing the limits on that because from a lot of these guys, like they're not going to get that opportunity at the next level. So why not milk that as much as you can at the collegiate level?
Yeah, make as much money as you can because was it Rick Pitino, I think it was, talking about how it's like your next job is going to pay you like $60,000, $70,000 a year. They're not going to give you a free car and a free house. So better get all those perks while you still can. That's going to do it for us here in this first hour. But stay tuned. We got Adrian Denny coming up next here on the Full Court Press to talk about Utah Mammoth and their recent success.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The Dodgers have become the poster children for everything people claim is wrong with baseball. A roster pushing past $400 million naturally draws criticism. And on the surface, it's not a great look for competitive balance. But focusing solely on the Dodgers misses the bigger problem. LA has forced other big market teams like the Mets, Yankees, and Phillies to raise their spending and stop pretending frugality equals strategy. It's good for the sport. More stars, better rosters, more meaningful matchups. The issue is not enough teams trying to win. Marlins, White Sox, Pirates, A's spent years operating on the margins, prioritizing profit over competitiveness. This is where the gap becomes alarming. When half the league refuses to invest, disparity is inevitable. So let's not put the burden of scrutiny on one franchise. Blame the organizations content with scraping by for the sake of profit. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.